All right. Welcome, everybody, to Crypto Corner. And so I was letting everybody know that this could maybe like the last one that we're doing live for a bit because my schedule may change coming up this week. So if that happens, we'll get our shows out, but they'll be recorded, and we'll keep running it. But anyway, how you doing, man? How's it going?
I'm good. Yeah, it's been a chill last few weeks with crypto and everything. It's been kind of like a kind of a lull in the market, so just taking a step back, and I've been kind of taking a little bit of a break from everything for the last week or so.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been just kind of chill. Nothing too crazy personally or with crypto for me.
You watched the Super Bowl?
Well, yeah, I guess there was that. Yeah. That was pretty crazy.
It was crazy, but it was a little, I thought it was going to be a lot more exciting.
Yeah,
with those two teams, and it was just like Philadelphia ran away.
I didn't watch the actual thing because I don't have like standard TV, so I was trying to find it online somewhere, and I was watching a bootleg stream for a second on X, and then they took it off. But I saw like the halftime show, and I thought there was some interesting symbolism in that with the whole basically the stage was like a game pad and a game controller, and then at the end it said game over. And Kendrick, whether you like him or not, his big song right now is about calling Drake a pedophile. So the one part,
A minor, right?
Yeah. So that's why that was like the one line that the whole stadium sang, I noticed, and that's a pretty big deal. I mean, they've had this like rap beef going on, which is whatever. Like, I don't really pay attention to that, but him calling him a pedophile is a pretty big deal because Drake might be associated with, that kind of company. So to put that on like the biggest stage in the world.
Apparently that's all the rage in that, right?
To be a pedophile. In those circles. Crazy. Yeah.
Like what? It's crazy stuff coming out.
Yeah. Yeah. And plus everything with Diddy and Jay-Z now getting accused with Diddy, and there's a lot of that coming out.
Yeah. It is. Yeah. And I think even more came once the awards came, even more with the other one, the nutty one. I can't remember what the hell is it. Yeezy? No, yeah. He said crazy stuff now. So there's a lot going on. I don't know who has the time to follow with all that stuff. I really don't I couldn't care less, but it's crazy how much it takes up a lot of space in people's brains. So
it does.
It's funny. It's kind of crazy to see what goes on and who's doing what. But
did you see that Taylor Swift got booed and obviously Donald Trump got applauded? But that was like the first time in public, I think, that's happened for her like that, and she was all confused, like, why are they booing me?
yeah, she couldn't figure it out, that she alienated more than half the country with picking sides. Or they just for the time being, like the everyone who's smart and how you just keep your mouth closed, let your career go for 20 years for a while, then start saying some stuff. How you doing, Jake? Anyway, I knew, I figured Philadelphia was going to win. They just have their team on a whole is far stronger than Patrick Mahomes, and you can't. There's not a one man. It's 12 guys on each side of the ball. So it is what Philadelphia just made. They have a very strong team if they could keep it together. But what I wanted to do is last week we did XRP and XLM. So this week I figured we'll highlight Solo and Coreum. Just go over some of the things that they do, just kind of so we keep it in the family. But some of the things that I kind of wanted to go over was there's some wild price predictions out there with XRP, and that I guess one of the guys that's very talkative about it, that Javion Marks. He's I guess a young guy who's into XRP. He's saying a lot, just because a lot of the waves of the way the pricing looks is similar to 2017, and so he's thinking that, he's like a 3,900% gain. He's, that's what he's predicting because of those past price predictions. That's how he's making it make sense. The way it
so
can
what
grow.
price would that be? What would 3,900%? Do you know what that would be?
Yeah. Well, say it's at from about $2.45, right around there. He's going with, and so you're looking at probably just under 100, probably about 98, 99, 100, somewhere around there. And so that's what he's thinking. And then, when he was talking about the waves, I thought it was interesting how he brought waves up. And then there's actually a guy who he actually does the Elliott wave theory. It's pretty interesting. That's a way what they're trying to do is they use that with the Fibonacci, how they use it to get the resistance and the support levels, and if it's going to break through or not. Well, this guy uses waves, and he uses some of the Fibonacci, but he uses like relative strength index, and then he uses the MACD, that moving average, convergence, divergence, and he uses that all together. And when you do that, they're saying that because it moves in waves, especially with volatile, say, cryptos or stock. Probably they could use it with both, up and down. And they're, if you get a couple of those things that are in the right spot, like if the relative strength is at a good spot, right, where it's not overbought and it's not close to being overbought, and it's, so it's at these levels. And then using the Fibonacci, how the Fibonacci gauges the resistance and support, that they're able to gauge with pretty good accuracy, if it's going to break through that resistance and keep running, or it's going to break through the support and keep running down. So you got to be careful of where you're buying and stuff. Right. But I thought it was interesting, and I just was looking into it, and it's something where I don't want to get into the weeds with that because it can get a little technical, but that can be something where we could actually do really off that wave theory. You can literally do a full episode just on that because of how many factors it takes into place. And it goes right through, and you can see it gauges volatility and everything. But yeah, so anyway, there's some of those, so there's really, really bold, and there's some logic behind it. If you look at the logic of it moving up in the right way. And then, I wanted to see if some of the things that Trump is doing with making us like kind of the crypto capital and wanting to build, kind of a cache of cryptos in America. Yeah. And so what's happening with that? And I think, with that meme coin now, that of course they're trying to use that, say it could be some type of conflict with him. So we'll see. Of course, there's going to be lawsuits and frivolous shit that they're going to do because no matter what it is, they're going to do what they got. They're going to try and do something to kind of stumble him up a little bit. But
I think he might get sued. You think someone's going to sue him over it?
I think there's some things. There are some things. When I was just looking through, they're starting to bring it like to life. If even if you just kind of type it in, Trump, I just figured to see if any of his announcements and what he's doing, if what type of impact it was starting to have. And so it went right to the meme. They call it the meme coin controversy. Mm-hmm. So, but which is, we kind of brought it up our last show when we were saying, it's not that we think he did anything wrong, but because of the position in the name, if anyone was going to cause a stink over it, because literally the guy can't, if he don't walk the right way, they're looking to like sue him and impeach him. So, you never. Yeah.
Well, at least he's got the SEC and like all of those financial institutions or, government, groups on his side in terms of his placement. So they at least they can't strong arm him with like the Department of Justice or the SEC or the CFTC. Yeah. So I feel like maybe they will try, but I don't see how they could be successful with him having all those people in those positions.
In place, right? Yeah, because I was even, I just want each looking through just to make sure to see what type of groups, and they're just saying it's consumer advocacy groups, and so when you look at that, it's just like the things that, Doge is finding. And it's supposed to be advocacy for, but then when they're looking, deeper into it, it's some of the most ridiculous things are being, done in there. And so some of these, the advocacy groups that are they're probably being formed to do that. And they're probably, they probably get paid to do that stuff, especially to him, because they go after him with everything. But, ultimately, I think, President Trump is going to be a positive effect on all the markets, especially as time goes on and he has some time to kind of put his stamp on everything, because he's moving at a record pace. I've never seen anything like this.
Yeah, and that's where, like, I know a lot of people in the crypto community are a little confused as to why the markets haven't taken off like some people expected. But I think the answer is right with what you just said, that he's been so busy. There's so many things that they had to do immediately in the first couple weeks, in the first month. And I feel like once that kind of settles down a little bit, that's when we'll get more focus on crypto. But still, so much is happening behind the scenes. I mean, this strategic reserve that they're talking about. Now I'm hearing about a strategic crypto council that Brad Garlinghouse, the rumor is that Brad Garlinghouse of Ripple may serve on this strategic council. So there's definitely things happening. And I think we're just, it's like things are happening behind the scenes, kind of like with Ripple and XRP in general. We're waiting for the public perception to kind of catch up. And with what you were saying earlier about like the price range, like going to around $100, I feel like that's possible just within the speculative alone, like without even full utility coming in. I think we could hit $100 just from the cycle mechanics, like what you're talking about with the fractals. So once things really start to get going, that's when we'll see utility coming in. And that's what I'm really excited for. What's up, Sovereign 17 XRP? Shout out to you. He's in the Conscious Crypto Academy.
All right. Part of the family.
Yeah.
But
so yeah, I think it's a matter of time. Like it's all happening so fast now.
Well, you want to know, he's doing what he needs to do, I guess, with, executive orders and what he's doing to get everything in line. But, you have to kind of speak kind of the President Trump language when he says it's going to be fixed and fixed quickly. People take that as day one or day, he's not a magician. He's a human being. And so he's putting stuff in place, but it took how much time for everything to get in this spot? It's like when people over time, right, that they gained 100 pounds because you go on a diet, day 3, you're not going to lose 100 pounds, right? It took time for you to get that unhealthy.
Yeah.
And then it's going to take time to get back in shape. It's not going to be, nothing happens like that. So, but you can see at the type of warp speed. And then even at the Super Bowl, do you know he was playing golf with Tiger? We played a round of golf with Tiger Woods before the Super Bowl.
I heard that.
The Super Bowl. I mean, the guy is almost 80.
Yeah, his stamina is next level.
Yeah, then did an interview, a 7-minute interview with Brett Baer. They did the, it's just, it's literally incredible for how he moves at his age. I'm sorry, I don't have that type of energy. It's pretty wild, and he's sharp, man. Because if he said anything, there's any missteps, he gets hammered. You would know about it. It'd be all over the place. So he's like, he does. It's incredible.
And he doesn't eat the healthiest. Like, he eats a lot of fast food and like
likes McDonald's. You saw that there was a picture of them on the plane. You saw RFK Jr. was like,
yeah, his face.
He's like the health secretary.
What's funny about that is, just side note real quick, there seems to be some kind of code language with McDonald's. Like it's some kind of, they call it comms or communications. And Elon posted a very pro Q associated video on Twitter, like maybe 2 months ago, where that letter was in there and there was a lot of clips from material associated with that. And in the middle of the video, right after they show that letter, the whole video stops and they say, Ronald McDonald is the activation phrase. And then it goes back to the normal video. And it's just like stuck in there. This is something Elon posted. So ever since I saw that, and seeing how they did that photo on what you're talking about on the plane, and they seem to do a lot of like, hey, it's McDonald's, like pro McDonald's photo ops. And I think it's some kind of coded language, something that they're doing with, you know, internal operations and stuff, and communications to other groups. So yeah, interesting. At least
it could be. Yeah, it could be. I mean, and you know, it's exciting to see what RFK Jr. can do with the food and stuff, because there was a doctor. I don't know if you have the PBD podcast.
Oh yeah, Patrick Bet-David, yeah.
Yeah, so he had Dr. Paul Spaldino on, and I guess he knows RFK Jr., but that guy is massively educated, very educated with health. I was like, whoa. But, you know, what he was saying too, that's when they brought that picture up. That's when I saw the picture on the plane, because they were hysterical laughing on the face that RFK had on, you know, and with them, and they're all eating that stuff. But anyway.
I was like, maybe they're testing the new tallow, you know, based French fry recipe, because you know how that's like what RFK is trying to do, is like get a lot of the seed oils replaced with like tallow, beef fat, and natural, you know, oils. So maybe that's what they're kind of prepping this for, is McDonald's is going to be like the first major chain to go full beef tallow like they used to be back in the day.
Yeah, well, all they have to do is look what they do in Europe or in Italy or in any of these other places out there where there's 3 ingredients for French fries instead of 40.
Yeah,
you know,
crazy.
So that's all they got. You know what I mean? But yeah, we got far away. It's crazy that it's just in the United States though.
Yeah,
like, and we have the FDA, right? We have all these, you know, people looking out for our best interest, but meanwhile we have all this stuff that's horrible for you.
Yeah.
And we got to get Sovereign a Big Mac. Look, he's getting hungry.
You'll make some burgers after this.
Yeah, right. All right. So you know what? What I want to do is, how about we jump into Sologenic and Coreum, and sure. We'll go from there, and then we'll get into some of the other areas. But I think that, you know, we talk about XRP a lot, and we talk about, you know, Ripple XLM, and we talk about what they do, and for good reason, right? That's the kind of the anchor in what you know, what you preach and what we talk about. But I think that what makes it so interesting with Sologenic and Coreum is what they bring to the equation is what really blew my mind, and how you can be, you know, your own bank, your own brokerage, your own, and send actual physical stuff across the world.
Yeah.
So, and then we know that there's a passive income model with Coreum that's pretty lucrative. But is there one with Sologenic, or is just that Coreum is so lucrative, really, that's the one you really want to just concentrate on? So let's first get into Sologenic. So what is the big buzz as far as, you know, Sologenic and that the whole tokenization and what it does?
Yeah. Sologenic is the largest, what's called a layer 2 on the XRP ledger. So to explain what that means real quick, you can build a crypto on an existing blockchain network. And so like we've seen things like, if, you know, people know Shiba coin, that's built on Ethereum. A lot of these meme coins, those are like layer 2s built on a layer 1. So XRP would be the layer 1. And then, you know, you or I, we can go create our own layer 2 on XRP because it's all open source. And so that's what these guys did. They created a layer 2, which is now the biggest one right behind XRP on the XRPL. And what their mission is to basically tokenize everything and bring it onto the XRP blockchain in particular. So tokenization is like a big theme right now. I'd say it's probably right next to AI. You know, tokenization and real world assets are a big narrative in crypto. And what that means is that all of the value in the world is going to be represented on the blockchain in the very near future. And that's what's happening right now. So whether that's gold or any kind of precious metal or oil or stocks or ETFs, bonds, anything, even debt, anything that signifies value is going to be represented on the blockchain, including real estate, you know, all sorts of things, vehicles, everything. So that's what their big focus is really bringing that in first for XRP, because XRP is, as we already know, you know, the fastest, the cheapest, you know, major blockchain out there, already well networked. And so they're trying to basically bring that all over. So what that means is, you know, they just, this has been what they've been talking about for years, but they just secured a partnership with a company that has a US brokerage license and the correct licenses that they need to actually do the tokenizing like legally with full clarity. So that's been the big thing that they've been waiting for. They've had the plan, but they needed the license. And so they just got the partnership with the company, and they've created this new group that I think they're calling Sologenic. And so it's a combination of Sologenic and this other platform. It's like Texture Capital, I think they're called. And so they're going to be using that to tokenize these stocks. And so not only are they going to be tokenized on XRP, but they're also going to be using it to tokenize them on Coreum as well. And so that's where we kind of get into Coreum. It's the same team behind them. So they made Sologenic first, and then they came out with Coreum, not as a competitor to XRP, but as a synthesis in a symbiotic relationship. And so what Coreum does is it first and foremost, it bridges the XRP ledger to another blockchain ecosystem that's really popular called Cosmos. Cosmos is not something that we've talked about, I think, ever on here, except maybe just referencing this quickly. But Cosmos is known as the internet of blockchains. IBC, you might see that those letters. Colloquially, they say Internet of Blockchains, but I think technically it stands for Inter-Blockchain Communication Protocol, ICBP or something like that. So basically, Coreum connects XRP to this other ecosystem. So bridge, you know, platforms are very important in connecting ecosystems, because these cryptocurrencies don't natively talk to each other. So bridges are really important. And then by itself too, it's a standalone blockchain that even though it doesn't compete with XRP on paper, it does in a way where it's got, you know, very similar specs. It's actually right now technically faster than XRP. Coreum is, where they've got settlement times down to just over a second per settlement. So every block is like a second. It's like 1.1 right now. Whereas XRP is like every 2 to 4 seconds for a transaction. So that's already really good. Now, XRP does have some advantages in other respects with the consensus. So because Coreum is also bringing in DeFi, you know, XRP, it's kind of like, you know, the comparison I make with XRP is like, if you got a Ferrari, you don't want to put off-road tires on that Ferrari because it's going to slow down the Ferrari for what it's supposed to do, right? So Coreum, you could say, is maybe kind of like more of a hybrid. Like it does the off-roading, but it also does so maybe it's like a rally car in that respect, where it's fast and it's speedy, but it also does the off-roading in the sense of DeFi and these smart contracts and stuff. And it's also ISO compliant. So it's you know, going to be regulatory greenlit.
It can integrate with all the banks.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's got Swift and everything.
Well, let me ask you this. So, so the different, like, so how is it compatible with XLM as well? Because is it just for the institutional?
No XLM compatibility. So XLM doesn't communicate in any way with this. With Coreum and Sologenic, they're on the XRP side. You never know in the future what could happen. Things could be updated and there could be compatibility that's introduced. But right now, Coreum is specifically like a bridge between XRP and Cosmos, but existing on its own, you know, native layer 1 blockchain as well. So then it's got the passive income like you were talking about. So that's for us in CCA, that's our biggest focus for passive income right now, because it's so high percentage wise. And it's such a small asset. It's also the smallest market cap in our portfolio. It's like 80 million or something like that right now, market cap. So it's one of those that I'm really looking at and still putting money in, because I think it's going to take off pretty soon. But you can also stake it. So staking, for those that don't know, staking is where you can generate interest on your crypto. You can't do that with XRP right now. You can't do it with XLM. You can't do it with Sologenic. The two that we do in the academy for staking are Coreum and Flare Networks, which I saw Sovereign mentioned in the chat too, FLR. So Flare is a lot bigger. They're more popular. Coreum is still on the upcoming. So opportunity investment wise there could be really ripe, but percentage wise, it's doing 25% plus staking rewards, annual rewards. So it would be 25% if you just claimed it once per year. But what's really cool about it is it pays out in real time. So you get micro payments in the moment, like every second. And so depending on how often you claim those rewards, and then if you choose to recompound them, you can get an APY yield that is significantly higher than the flat APR rate of 25%. And we recently found you can actually get it up to 50% APY with compounding.
Yeah. I was going to say, because if you're compounding, if you could compound that quickly, the more you compound, the more the more you compound, the more, especially when you get closer to the end of the year, if you're going to calculate at year end, the compound, the dollar amounts could be extraordinarily different. I don't know how. Is there a way to like set it and kind of set it to it, or you have to physically do that?
So you normally you have to physically claim it yourself, but I recently was made aware of a bot that will automate it for you, and it will automatically claim it twice per day. I haven't tried it yet, but from the people I know that have tried it, that's where I heard that they were able to get the APY up to 50% in claiming it twice per day. So
that's awesome.
That's I mean, literally double is crazy, and that's the power of compounding. Like you can double your yield.
Yeah. Well, if you do, I mean, if you I wonder what, if you just work it out, you'd want every 2 years, you're at least doubling your money.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's incredible. Just the rule of 72. But I mean, at 50%, it don't take it'll take a brain surgeon to figure out 2 years. But, if you do the rule of 72, like you divide 72 by the rate, and whatever that answer is, that's the amount of years it takes for your money to double.
Okay.
So right. So if you make an 8%, 72 divided by 8 is 9 years. Your money will double if you're at 8% and 8% interest. So when you look at some of the best investments out there, they use an average of about, over like a long period of time, they'll use between 5 and 8%, depending on where we're at. But when they go out a long term. So with this, I mean, you're talking about it's cutting that time down, in a third of the time. So that's pretty incredible.
And I would say like 5 to 8% is pretty typical for crypto staking rewards for blockchains that have kind of settled out more. So this 25% may or may not be a limited time opportunity. I expect so when Coreum first launched roughly 2 years ago, the staking reward was an APR flat rate of like 49%. So it started out there, and then it slowly kind of went down. And I honestly expected it to have been lower than it is right now, but it surprised me. It literally turned around. It went down to about 20%. I thought it would keep going down, and that's just kind of how it works. As more people learn about it, less rewards to go around for everybody. But it literally, it did a U-turn at 20%, and it came back up to 25, and it's kind of been sitting around there. So apparently when they updated the blockchain recently, they were able to increase the transaction speed and get it down to that 1 second time frame I was telling you about. Previously it was about seconds. And I don't totally understand it, but I guess because of the lower increase, the increase in the efficiency of it, somehow that contributed to a larger percentage reward for staking. So it is the kind of thing that might be limited time opportunity, but it's been hanging around that percentage for quite a while and creeping up. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, and it's been there for for, I mean, a really a good amount of time, for especially as good as that whole family has been doing, of, and that family of blockchains, right? With XRP, the whole Ripple network, and with all the ones that you're speaking about. So it's incredible that it's staying up there, because you would think that over the amount of time, the safer it's going to be. People see it out there longer, they feel more confident. Then, I would think that's when the interest would come down a little bit for risk to reward. But evidently there's other facets involved in how they'll keeping it up. But when they do the staking, that's basically when someone owns it, right? They lend their Coreum to the blockchain or whatever they lend, and then what they do is they take part in the fees that are charged, or how do they get that number?
So in the case of Coreum, every blockchain's a little bit different, but with Coreum in particular, you have a set of validators, and anybody can become a validator, run their own node. It just takes computing power and a certain knowledge. But you can run a node. But what we do when we're staking is we're actually, like you're saying, kind of lending our crypto to one of these validators, who then use it to basically achieve network consensus. So it's kind of the alternative to like what Bitcoin does with the mining rigs. It's like proof of stake was the upgrade to proof of work. But proof of work was the original Bitcoin method. You have all these mining rigs, it's producing all this, requiring all this energy to feed the algorithms and everything. And then when proof of stake came out, it was a way where it was way more green. You didn't need all these energy systems. And this was like with Ethereum that popularized it. And so instead, basically with proof of stake, you lend your crypto to the network, basically, like you're saying, and then it's used to compute the data essentially and come to consensus. And then you get rewarded in more tokens as a thank you for providing that service to the network. So with Coreum, we stake with one of the validators. They then use it to achieve consensus. You get a 25% plus annual payout, and then the validator takes like a small fee, like usually 1% fee from your payout for doing that service for you. Since we're not running our own validators, they take a small fee. So that's basically how it works. Yeah.
So what's the difference with, if, because this is a question I got a lot. They keep asking the difference between staking and then yield farming.
Yeah, it's very similar. It's like yield farming is basically when it's kind of a vague term, but it's kind of when you can take different. Okay, here I'll give you an example. So sometimes when you're doing certain things in DeFi, like say you enter a liquidity pool, right? So liquidity pool is when you provide liquidity to a market and you get paid out. So kind of like staking, but there's more risk with liquidity pools than there is with staking, which is pretty much no risk. So in a liquidity pool, if you enter one, say you put in 50-50 of two assets, XRP and RLUSD stablecoin, and then you get fees relative to what people are paying when they're trading between those two. And so sometimes what you'll get is an LP coin, which is a new coin that is a representation of your share in the liquidity pool. So it's like you give your XRP and RLUSD, you get back this LP coin in return, and then when you go to get your coins back, you swap it out, and it's like your ticket basically. But sometimes on other blockchains, primarily, you can take those LP coins and then put them in like a yield farm, so some form of yield generating DeFi platform where you can then make gain on your LP coin, which you're already making gains on. So that would be like an example of a yield farming where you can get like extra tokens and kind of get more rewards on top of the rewards you're already getting in some cases. That's my understanding of yield farming. But let's see. I wonder what like the actual like definition would be. I'm going to look it up because it's kind of one of those terms that gets thrown around a lot and doesn't have a super specific
and I think
definition.
that's what. And that's what I think that's what some of the confusion was, because people were thinking it was staking, and it was like they weren't, getting the difference. And I was kind of, trying to do like a quick thing. And I was like, okay, this is not something where I could do a quick check, because it was like it was kind of a little ambiguous. So I just wanted to see, what exactly it was. So because I got like browser, 5 or 6 questions on it now.
Yeah. So the search browser says yield farming is a method in crypto and DeFi where users deposit their crypto assets into liquidity pools or lend them to earn rewards or interest. So it's kind of the general umbrella of like staking. Staking may fall under yield farming, but generally they're considered different things. But it's more so like with liquidity pools, and you get these extra tokens, and then you can go and use those in other pools to create profits. And we don't see it as much on XRP right now, but on other blockchains, it's more common.
Yeah, and so how I was taking it is, when you look at yield farming or you look at it looks like when you're farming for yields, like there's a bunch of stuff out there in the farm, right? And you're farming for different things, like so. It could, depending on what crypto you're talking about, it could mean staking, or it could mean something else that you're going to make a yield off it, or you're going to make some type of profit off it, which you could, which is a yield. You're going to make some interest or profit off it. So, but that's kind of what it sounded like. But I was, a lot of times it's not what it literally means, what it kind of was saying. So you want to, I wanted to make sure. But good
question.
And you know what, too, before we get too far in, I wanted to, there's a question here coming up too, but guys, one thing is the CCA, when you see that in the chat, that's the Conscious Crypto Academy, and that's Jace's academy. And again, if it's the first time you're listening, I was introduced to Jace as I purchased the program so I could kind of get some tutelage when I was first starting out, and it really it was a great springboard for me because of the way he does things. So that's having him here, live like this, given some of his knowledge, is kind of incredible, and he answers your questions. But really, when it comes down to it, unless you do have some experience, and I mean that you're versed in it, especially as we get into these times now, it's not like, I feel like kind of years ago or a couple of years ago, it was like you had some time because it was still coming around. No, really was still being talked about like it was this kind of alternative crazy thing. If you get into it, like, it's kind of like a boogeyman out there. It's going to do something, but right now it's mainstream. I mean, literally the president has, and the first lady have a meme coin in it. And some of the richest people have their own meme coins, or the things that they're backing. And so and not to mention, all the stable coins, everything that's been up there, and some of the things that we see the functionality on. So we're entering into, I think, a vital stage in crypto, where if you don't start to move and move into it and get comfortable with it, you're going to miss out on that initial real run in the bull market. And the end of last year, the last quarter, when we first started to do this, we seen in some of the things that we were talking about that, I got from being inside the academy, and we started, Jace was kind of gracious enough to talk about it on here, that some of those things that we talk about and we do, they've had 4x, 5x, and bigger moves just for the end of the year. And that was just kind of the prelude to, really what's to come. So it's something where, again, it's something that you should be getting comfortable with, and it could be in complement to what you already have. But again, what a great resource, and we'll put the link in the description below. But I just wanted to, we just jumped right in today, and we didn't talk about it. So I just want to make sure that you realize, when we're doing this show, and it's not done in a flippant manner, and it's a very, very credible source, and the experience that Jace brings and the experience that I bring in more of the traditional investments moving forward is we make up a very, I think, a unique team that's not out there right now, and it's something where you should definitely inquire, because it's like I said, it was my springboard in, and I couldn't be happier. And now no matter what happens, he stuck with me as a student. He stuck with me because it's a lifelong it's a lifelong partnership, which is amazing. So anyway, I just wanted to let you guys know that. But Jace, this guy is saying, what is the best place for him to buy Solo and Coreum?
Yeah, so the Uphold exchange, you can get both of them on. That's probably the easiest place.
Yeah.
Now, if you're gonna take your Coreum and stake it and get the 25%, plus passive income, you can't do that from Uphold. So that's where having the academy, we walk you through that. There is a bunch of extra steps you have to do. It's honestly not the easiest thing, because you have to move it around and get it to the right place, and it's pretty technical. But once you have it set up, it just runs itself. But if you just want to buy them, Uphold is the only exchange I know of where you can get both of them in the same place.
Yeah, you could get everything, even the flare. The flare, you can get most everything on there. That's where I purchased mine as well.
Yeah.
But Jeremy, you're very welcome. Let's see if there's any other questions here. Let's see. You can get them on Uphold.
For those of you guys that don't know, too, I'm Cosmic Origins in the chat. If you guys are watching and you don't know, that's me.
Oh, yeah. So this is Jace here, Cosmic Origins. But yeah. So and you know what, and you do have to but there's a lot more to it. You want to make sure you're protecting yourself. You're protecting your assets. You don't need to leave them all online. There's different things you can do to move them on a hardware wallet. So there's different ways that you should be taking custody and responsibility for your assets. That's it's a decentralized, exchange, and there's always a double-edged sword to that type of stuff, because as great as it is not to have someone in control of your assets, you're also in control of your assets. And if you don't take the proper steps or have the right responsibility, and you leave them at risk, it's a decentralized exchange, and you can't just call somebody. You want to make sure, and again, he'll go over all that with you. So you want to make sure that you're getting into the right things. You understand why you're doing it, what the utility is of it, how it's going to lead us into the new financial systems and what's happening, but also how to protect yourself and keep yourself safe and keep your assets safe. Because when everything does flip and you're able to send, commodities across the world, or you're able to do some of these things, I mean, that's going to be wild, and be able to partake in that at the beginning and run those things all the way up, and to have a passive income of up to, if you can set it for, say, the twice a day, up to 50%, as of right now, that's what it can be. But to do that stuff, you're not, where are you getting that other than right now in crypto? If you were to get that anywhere else, the risk that you'd be taking on would be phenomenal to get that type of return. And I feel like the risk that you would take on doing passive income with Coreum, Jace, the risk isn't ridiculous.
Yeah, that's what's great with staking. With staking, there's essentially no risk. The only risk is the same risk that you have just using crypto in general, which is if there's a bug in the blockchain itself. But in terms of an investment risk, I don't see any investment risk with staking, because there's no market you're dealing with. You're not dealing with price fluctuations or anything like that, like you are with liquidity pools and just investing in general. But with staking, it's the most, to me, safest, low maintenance, high security method to be able to generate passive income where you're in full control.
Yeah, I mean, I would think because if you're getting a percentage of the fees that are generated throughout the day, if you're lending yours, as if there is just for some reason, the volume of, for some reason, trading, that what's trading in Coreum it just gets it's suppressed, and it's so small that the fees aren't there. Maybe, I mean, I don't, which, that would be like a drastic change, right?
Do you mean for liquidity pools or for staking?
Whichever, if you're getting fees off of how much is being sold, right?
So that would be if you're in a liquidity pool. So with the staking, it doesn't relate to fees or anything at all. With the staking rewards, it's coming from a regulated inflation. So there's a certain percentage of inflation. I think right now it's like 14%. So honestly, I don't know how that works out, how 14% inflation can give you a 25% plus staking reward. I got to do more research on that. But that's my understanding where it comes from. Whereas when we're talking about generating fees, that would be if you're in a liquidity pool, which would be something separate from staking that you can still do. Like with Coreum, I guess you could enter a liquidity pool with Coreum on the Sologenic website, or there's another project that's a layer 2 on Coreum called Pulsara, where you can do staking, or sorry, not staking, you can do liquidity pools. Yeah. But the liquidity pools is where you would have risk, whereas staking, you have no risk in terms of investment and price fluctuation. With liquidity pools, if the price fluctuates drastically between the two assets, then that's where you could get what they call impermanent loss, which is where if you were to put in, say you put in, again, say it was XRP, and let's say XRP and Coreum, and you put those in a liquidity pool, and say Coreum goes up really high relative to XRP, you could, and then you exited the pool, you could receive back less Coreum coins than you started with, but you would have more XRP coins. So they average out the dollar value, but if the price fluctuates drastically, then you get less of one coin. The one that's going up, you'll get less of that back and more of the one that went down. So that's where, the whole point would be that the fees hopefully compensate that loss that you would get from price difference. But that's the whole risk game. So it may compensate, it may not compensate. But that's where the risk comes in. Whereas with staking, you don't deal with any of that. You stake it, you get your percentage, and you don't have to worry about the market or the price at all, which is great.
So with that, to make anywhere close to 25%, 28%, whatever it is
risk free is like crazy. Yeah. Especially
that's amazing.
Without risk is incredible. Like I've never seen anything like it in crypto. Plus the fact that the market cap of Coreum is so low. And this brings me to another thought too, before we close this out. The market cap of Coreum is so low. Like I said, it's around 80. It's the lowest in our portfolio right now. So that means when you're making all those rewards, when the price comes up, which I think personally, it's going to go to at least $10 this cycle, just the speculative market, let alone utility driven price later. But $10 was actually something that they put out there as a team for a certain airdrop that was redeemable for Coreum, and they put a time limit on it. And they said you can redeem this for Coreum when either Coreum hits $10 for more than 3 weeks in a row, or by March of 2025, which is next month. And this was something they put out like a year and a half ago or so. So that means they were expecting right around now, regardless of Trump even, they were expecting that it could be $10, which is why I think it could easily be $10 in the next year. Which you could do the math then, and you could see, like, if I put this much in, say it goes to $10, what percentage, what could I make in passive income? And that's where, you can live off this passive income when it becomes enough. If you buy, whatever amount of Coreum today, and say that ends up being $1 million, whether that's at $10 or $100 or whatever, say that ends up being worth $1 million, and you're getting say you're only getting 10% on it, let alone 25 plus, 10% of $1 million is $100K a year. That's like, you know, full-time, good paying job that you can just have in passive income at that point. So that's
amazing.
where I'm seeing in the future. That's where this could be really good for the people getting in on it. And then the final thought I had around this is the team behind Coreum and Sologenic, they just met with the president of El Salvador like last week, right before Trump met with them. So for those of you, for people watching that don't know, the president of El Salvador, he did a couple of amazing things. One, he completely turned around crime in the country because he did a mass arrest of all the gangs and put hundreds of thousands of people in prison. So literally El Salvador went from being one of the most dangerous countries in the world to one of the safest, like overnight. And people are like moving back and like, you know, excited to have their country back. And he also is very pro crypto, and he made Bitcoin legal tender in El Salvador, which I heard right after I heard that he met with Solo and Coreum guys. I heard that he no longer has Bitcoin as legal tender. It's still like a strategic reserve, but I guess it's not legal tender anymore. So I'm like, okay, that's interesting. He meets with the founders of Coreum and Sologenic. Like they take pictures together, like they have a private meeting and they're like, hey, it went really well. And then right around the same time, he announces that Bitcoin is no longer a legal, you know, currency, which as we know, it's not really very efficient to use as a currency, which maybe they found out. And then 2 days later, Trump is having a meeting with the same guy. So to me, it's like, okay, things are moving here. The gears are moving.
Yeah. And you know something, and if that's the case, when you see that, the price, that would dictate much, much higher prices to give it that stability, which is the only reason why still countries or anyone like that would look at a Bitcoin, is because of where the price of it is. And once they look at the details, or once they had some of the new people that had meetings with pointed out, it kind of opens your eyes. But then you realize that if XRP is going to do this, and if Sologenic and Coreum are going to do that, their prices got to go far, far up and stabilize at that. So because you need to have something stable up there to do that. You know what I mean? Like it's got to have some type of stability, and it's got to have a much bigger market cap, which dictates it's got to start to move. So that's really that's very interesting that happened on a couple of different levels. Wow.
Yeah. And then, you know, they got that partnership with that broker, you know, registered business recently. So it's like, it's all set up, and it's like, I think very shortly we could see, especially with XRP taking off, we could see the rest of it in that ecosystem really start.
El Salvador is didn't they built that brand new prison specifically for the gangs?
I think so. So.
Because I think they actually made it available to us, and we would pay them. It's like 10 or 11 grand per prisoner per year. If we ship the violent gang members or whatever, we could even to ship there. And so right now it cost us, I think, something like, say right around 40 grand, give or take $5,000 a year for us to house prisoners each prisoner, you know, per year. So if we send them to El Salvador and we pay them, you know, 10, 11,000 to house them, we're kind of netting out a profit on that, because it would be costing us far more, like 30,000 more. So that would be a great deal. And that prison that they have is wild. I don't know if you saw it, but they were all sitting like right behind each other. And
they were like
added up.
It almost like it's kind of like a Chinese sweatshop vibes, like where they're all like working in a big factory, which I guess is, I heard mixed things about that, where people were like, some people were like, hey, we should do that in America. We should bring, you know, more prison, you know, labor. But then people were like, well, maybe it's good temporary for what they're doing, but you don't want to create a labor force that's dependent upon people being incarcerated to get that labor done. So it's like, there's like a balance, I guess, but for where they're at right now, it seems like a good option for what they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, and it's they just, I guess, finished doing it, but it's a way where even they have opposing gangs in there, and they're not fighting or anything, because there's like armed guards right there, and they can make it very, very uncomfortable for them. So they put them all in the same room. There's like a bunch of them in the same room that or literally, if they were on the street, they'd be a problem. But in there, they're not. So it's like, I guess, I mean, some people, that's what they need. On the street, they're nuisances to regular people that are just trying to do what they have to do out there. And he made it the safest. But I thought, how interesting. I don't even know if it's constitutional where we can send American citizens who are like violent gang members over there to go.
So is that what it would be? American? It wouldn't just be El Salvadorian,
no,
but they'd.
Well, it would be say illegals, or it would be, whatever, like, even if they are El Salvadorian, but they were saying they would even house our, if they were American, if that's something that we can do, they would even accept them over there.
So they might send like a Mexican citizen who's being deported. They might send him to El Salvador if Mexico doesn't take him.
Yeah. And I know they do that. There's countries like out in the UK that they send them from, they, in one country they get in trouble, but if there's certain crime that they do, they don't let them in their prisons. They'll send them to, like a prison in England, like to a different. So they're going to a different country to do it. But in America, we have the Constitution, and whatever it says, it says. But I just thought it was interesting that the amount of money that we would save per inmate. But anyway, crazy. Yeah, I think that's incredible. And I think it's going to start to roll through country to country. With this, and I think we're going to start to hear more and more, because a lot of times you don't hear what's going on with XRP and what countries are actually doing stuff like that with that platform, because they're smaller countries and kind of these places that they're not spoken about in our news and stuff. But if you go and like look stuff up, or look at they look at some of like the alternative news stuff that we would be looking at, and you'll see something happening in Nigeria or something happening, in these type of like, countries that we really don't hear about every day. But it seems like that's where it's starting to roll and gain momentum. And, now again, with Trump being so pro crypto, if America does that and it catches fire, off to the races. I think it's going to be great.
Yeah.
So a couple of things. We're gonna wrap up soon, guys. Yeah, I'm sorry, but I'm sick. I was sick for the last few days, so I appreciate my man Jay's doing what he, getting all the saving my voice. So I appreciate you, my friend.
Yeah, for sure. I'm glad you're still good. Glad you're feeling better a little bit.
Yeah. So some of the takeaways on this. So I want to, kind of just see what you think here. So do you think XRP, we know it's going to be used for big things, but do you think it breaks $10 this year?
Yeah, I do think so. Yeah.
You do?
Where
do you think, if you're throwing out a guess?
Man.
A range, not a specific, like a range.
Just speculative market, I think somewhere between $10 and $100. But then if we get like a big utility implementation, I think we could see a couple $1,000s pretty fast. But if just in the speculative, I think between 10 and 100. I know that's a big gap, but
yeah, well, and there are some predictions out there that are going up, to that. But if you look at where it's at, to have these type of percentage gains is definitely not out of the ballpark, especially like you said, with some of the big implementation in the actual some countries that are looking to use it and what it's capable of.
Yeah.
I think sky's the limit. But yeah, I was thinking somewhere maybe I was like at about between 25 and 50. Is where I was thinking. I think it would be a real solid start to where this thing could really go. But if I had to vote, I would vote on your prediction.
Yeah. I mean, yours is definitely more specific. Mine was more broad. Between 10 and 100 is pretty big, but like I think 10 is pretty guaranteed if we keep going in this direction, unless something crazy happens. 10 seems pretty guaranteed. And at that point, we're looking at flipping Bitcoin. I forget at what price XRP has to be to flip Bitcoin, but I know it flips Ethereum at like $4. I want to say it flips Bitcoin at like $15 or $20, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a pretty big deal too, because once it passes Bitcoin, it could surge like crazy because of all the fear of missing out, the FOMO of people validating and liquidating their Bitcoin and their other assets to get in on the XRP pump. That could be wild.
Yeah, and I think if someone, and that happens, to be honest, that'll happen. And if you look at any investment, from stock to physical metals, as soon as we saw say silver making a little move, people were trying to convert their gold to silver. And then when if gold started going up, and it just, because it really does run on emotion, for the most part, because most people, what they're doing is they're seeing the waves when it's already happening. So, and I think what separates some of the things that I think we talk about is not so much after the move has been made or after announcements have been made, but I think in seeing the patterns of how it's been going, and kind of anticipating where it's going to move. And so that's where we catch the big move, rather than waiting for it to be everyone's in it, and then you catch the last part of it. So I think that's going to be, and I think that's really what starts to separate, the person who's trying to like kind of move and kind of go through the minefield of making mistakes and all that stuff, and trying to get in here and trying to listen, and which is the way a lot of people, that's why I was starting to do it in the beginning as well. And it just wasn't working. I was getting in too late. And I didn't have a real grasp on what I wanted to be in and everything. So, once I got that knowledge of what to look at, so it gave me a focal point, then I was able to start to, you can layer on. But it was like, then you start to see, and you could do this with all the cryptos. Once you get used to doing, once you do it with XRP and XLM and some of those things, and you see how those waves are working, right? Then you could apply it to a different crypto, different meme coins. You can see how it goes, and then you could start to apply the same thing, where you're seeing the resistance, the support levels, and the different charts and how it can move, and you could start to kind of forecast. Look, this is how the patterns run. This is how the cycles run, right? So this is definitely a good buying point, because look at what happened here, and then you can use the different charting techniques, right? So I think that's what's important, and I think that's kind of what you do when you see things, and when you start to do it, and you dive into communities, and you really start to educate yourself. I'm talking about you specifically, and then you start putting it out to help people get in. But it's something where you want to start to move and start to look for those patterns. But it's something where you have to get a good foundation of knowledge first. Get a good coach, get a good mentor, and do that and move forward for yourself. Because if you could start to anticipate a pattern, the difference in returns, Jace, percentage wise, are night and day. I mean, you know what I mean? When you take full advantage of a bull run rather than just the end part of it, it's common sense. You're going. I mean, you know what I mean? And so once you can do it one crypto, you can do it. You can keep repeating that. So,
you can apply that pattern throughout different contexts.
Right. Exactly. And so, I think that's some of it. And again, I think that's some of the things that we do. That we do just since we've been doing this. And it's had some really good. I have to see some of the. I should share. I don't share them with you. That's horrible. But I should share some of the things with you, because there are some people that really did well and were very, very grateful for it, because they didn't know, and they did a little bit. They listened, and it helped them with Christmas. It helped them, with things that they were having a rough time with. So it's really a good thing. But so as far as Sologenic so that is bridging traditional finance and blockchain. Do think that, is there anything other than Sologenic, or what's that? You think Sologenic is leading the field in that? Or do you think, what's the competition? Is it tight?
There's a lot. I would say there's a handful of projects that are focusing on tokenization, but Sologenic's the biggest one for XRP. So because we're betting on XRP being all the money, I think that puts Sologenic one step ahead of all of the others, because they're the number one layer 2 on XRP in general as well. So they're so well positioned that there's no other competition within the XRP ledger that I've seen that's anywhere close, at least. And then when you're talking about other blockchains, I mean, they don't compete with XRP. So that it just shows me that they're going to be the winner, I believe, because they have XRP, they've got the network positions, they have everything.
And then how the smart tokens of, say, Coreum would fit in with, the kind of that DeFi innovation. Do you think that's more of a short-term thing, or like over the long term, this is something that's going to do well over the long term? It's going to be around.
Yeah, both. I think definitely the long term, but also short term, because of everything going on and because it's so undervalued right now, sitting at like $80 million market cap. I mean, I could see it doing, between a 10 and 100x over the next like couple of years. Plus when utility comes in. So yeah, I think they're just so well positioned, and all the dots align for me. Plus synchronistically, I get so many synchronicities about Coreum in particular, especially on top of XRP. Like we joke about it in our group chat, but we all see the word core in all these different places, like on trucks and businesses, and like, it's one of those things where you see the patterns so much and you go, okay, maybe there's something to it. The universe is going to tell me something.
Yeah, well, and if you learned anything, we're going through some of this journey, that those type of synchronicities and those gut feelings or little intuitions that you get, you have to start to realize you can't ignore those. Those are things that you need to like heed those, and you can make decisions on those and do really well. You just got to follow it.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, I think in the long term, it's going to do really well, and short term as well. And they've got like the smart tokens, like you mentioned. That's something we haven't even talked about. I don't know too much about that because that's what they're developing still. But yeah, they're developing these smart tokens with different DeFi features, and I think they're really going to be a unique blockchain that will, I think, very potentially be in the top 10 blockchains.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that XRP happens to be the flagship, but it starts to make me think that what it's surrounded itself with is like the mastermind theory, right? You're a good leader, but you surround yourself with people who are smarter than you in all these different areas, and it just builds your business that much quicker. That's what I feel like this platform is that XRP is the catalyst, but everything around it has the potential to just like put it on steroids.
Supercharge it,
supercharge it. So it's really exciting. And then with the passive income is a real thing, and it's a real thing because the amount of 25-28% compounded interest that you can potentially boost to almost 50 with if you compound it twice a day and you're consistent with it, and it stays at that. That's what it would be right now. So it's not, we're not talking about, we're talking about right now, this is what it could be, but it's been there for a while now, and it's incredible for the amount of really very, very little risk. I hate to say no risk because I'm so geared in the other event where you're not even allowed to say no risk, but with ultra, very, very minute risk, you're making, that 25-28%. It's just an incredible way to have a passive income. But again, with everything else, I hope you're getting the point. What I'm saying is that education is key, that you need to really educate yourself. And again, I think that we have a great vehicle with CCA to do that. And then, just before we go, and I'll let you finish off after, I just want to say that a couple of things. If you see the banner below, my wife, Lisa, she just launched her website, Visions Beyond the Desert. And she's doing, just started taking sessions, and she's already had some amazing results with her first, handful. But that's just, she's been doing it for quite a while, but she just launched it publicly. And then she had her, she has her book. It's the Visions of Shadows and Stars. And then I have my book, which is the Frequency Formula. It's the Grabovoid codes, and then of course the Jace with the Conscious Crypto Academy. But Jace, my voice is starting to go, so if you want to wrap up here, and we will say goodbye.
Yeah. Well, first off, congrats, Lisa, on the launch of your new website. That's awesome. I just pulled it up. I'm looking at it. It looks beautiful. So yeah, good job.
She just said thank you. She's in the other room.
Awesome. Yeah, it looks really nice. I like the background and the layout and everything. Very, very pretty. But yeah.
Yeah,
so,
and also just to give a quick shout out, B12, they helped out with the website. She did. I mean, she put a ton of work into it, but they were awesome. So B12 is they're actually really great to work with remotely. So I just wanted to give them a shout out and thank them for all the help they gave her.
Sweet.
But go ahead.
Awesome. Yeah. So that's pretty much it. I don't think there's anything else major I want to mention. There hasn't been any major news stories or anything since we spoke last week. We're still kind of just getting through all the presidential EOs and everything else, and letting the dust settle. And Doge is finding everything that it is. So we'll see what's going on in 2 weeks when we reconvene. But it's one of those, like, for me, it's, boring in the sense that we're not having crazy price action. Nothing crazy is happening with crypto, but that's the best time to either accumulate or just take a step back and breathe and, let things play out. So that's where I'm at right now. And then maybe in 2 weeks, we're going to have some bigger stories to talk about. We'll see.
Yeah, it's funny because when you're in this type of holding pattern, you start getting the jitters. Like, should I sell something? What's happening? But yeah, you're right. You got to take a deep breath and take a step back and let the dust settle. But I think it's going to be all good things moving forward. And if you position yourself correctly, you can really just set yourself up for the future. So until next time, we are going to say goodbye. God bless. And any updates on what we're doing as far as timing of the next show, whether it's recorded or live, I'll put a post out there. But we will have a show come on, whether it's recorded or live. It'll be the only difference, but we'll let you know. Other than that, Jace, I will talk to you soon, brother. Thank you for all you do. And all you guys, stay safe. God bless. And happy crypto hunting. Thank you.
God bless. Take care, everyone.
God bless.